Hello and welcome to the Time on Screen podcast, a Warren and Wound podcast about movies and time and watches and the intersection of all of those things. My name is Zach Kazan. I'm the managing editor of Warren and Wound, and I'm really happy to be joined today to talk about a brand new movie by Ed Jelley, contributing editor to Warren and Wound. Ed, how's it going?
Sure. It's going. I'm always happy to be back on Time on Screen.
I was trying to think of the last time you were on Time on Screen. Was it Gremlins? Was it our Christmas episode?
It was our Christmas special. It was our off the rails Christmas special.
Yeah. That was an interesting experiment on this podcast of talking about a movie that neither of us liked.
No.
So I think we won't do that again.
You might sense a hint of enthusiasm here because this is exciting.
This podcast is exciting.
Well, this particular episode, I can't speak for the Gremlins podcast. I don't know what the numbers were on that one, but they couldn't have been great.
Well, listen, it was the holiday season. People were doing other things. Maybe they weren't focused on,
let's chalk it up to that.
Their watch movie podcasts. We'll do another Christmas episode. I'm committed to doing Eyes Wide Shut, I think, as our Christmas episode this year. That's like my favorite Christmas movie, kind of like an anti-Christmas movie. Just a personal obsession of mine, and as far as these things go. Anyway,
we are not discussing a Christmas movie, by the way. This is not a Christmas movie.
This is definitely not a Christmas movie. We're talking about Alien Romulus today, a new release. It's been in theaters for about a week or so.
Spoiler alert. Yeah. Right in the beginning, we're going to be talking about the whole movie. It's still pretty new.
We're going to be talking about the whole movie. We're going to be talking about potentially other Alien movies. I don't know how many we'll dive into, but if you're concerned about plot points from any movie in the Alien franchise, maybe save this one and go watch all the Alien movies. That's a good thing to do anyway because they're great. But yeah, this is your blanket spoiler warning for Alien Romulus and potentially other movies in the franchise as well. Ed, before we get too deep into things concerning the Alien universe, let's do a quick wrist check because this is still sort of a watch podcast, and the Alien franchise has a lot of watches.
Watch heavy.
There are watches
hitter
in this movie too, or wrist devices anyway. So
yeah.
What are you wearing today?
I'm double wristing. I got a wrist device. With the text from Mom on there. Nice. Shout out, Mom. No, I have my Omega Speedmaster on my left hand because space. Come on, let's go.
Sure. Yeah.
And I have my futuristic wrist-based communicator, the Apple Watch Ultra, because I've been on a little bit of a fitness kick, and I like to make sure I might close my rings there.
Yeah.
So,
are you enjoying the Apple Watch Ultra experience?
You know, I like it as a piece of equipment, but I find it honestly, it's so big. It's so big, and I've found myself wanting to get the smallest Apple Watch with GPS and cellular because I'm not I don't need 3 days of battery life. I really mostly only wear it when I'm exercising or fishing. And it'd be nice if it was smaller. If I had the smallest screen one, I've tried my wife's on, she has the tiny one, and I find myself wanting that, but I'm this is kind of like a big cool G-Shock and it's titanium. So I just kind of like the vibe.
It's kind of the coolest looking of all of them, but it seems like maybe the least practical for normal everyday.
Absolutely.
use.
If I were to do it again, I don't think I would get this one, but it is cool because it's a big little wrist worn titanium computer, and that kind of speaks to the inner child and sci-fi fan that I am. So,
sure. Yeah. Understandable.
What about you?
I'm wearing a watch that is not even remotely tied to what we're going to be talking about today. I'm wearing my James Lamb Origin Series.
Totally.
With a silver case and beautiful enamel dial. It's really a lovely watch.
Would you wear it to space?
Probably not. I don't
think if you were
think
on a
that
terraforming expedition, would you choose that same watch?
I think this watch would be not a great choice for the harsh environments found across the Alien movie franchise.
It's rough out there. It is rough out there.
It's rough out there. That's one of my favorite things about the Alien movies is that they really kind of they make space seem terrible. It really seems
there's no aspirational let's go. It's all right, you're gonna be in hypersleep in a light speed dumpster, and you're going to a place where there's no sun, so good luck.
And they're it's just the worst work imaginable. The whole concept of truckers in space basically is sort of
Perfect.
I love it. It's like the bureaucracy and the blue collar nature of space travel really shines through in every Alien movie, and that's what I love about the series. Um, Ed, let's get into Alien. I know I wanted to have you on the podcast to talk about this movie specifically because I know just from chatting with you about movies for years now, you're a big fan of all the Alien movies, I think, or at least the
Mostly,
yeah.
mostly.
So how do you come to the Alien franchise? Like, what's your experience here? What are some of the reasons these
Oh
movies speak
man.
to you?
So like I'm a big sci-fi guy, a big sci-fi novel fan. Just overall, like if there's a streaming service, I'm hitting the sci-fi section
Hmm.
first. That's just kind of always been the way. And I definitely saw Aliens like way too young. Like I was like 9 years old. And
Yep.
like I saw Aliens on VHS and it was like, whoa, this is crazy. So like I did it reverse. I saw Aliens first and then I saw Alien sometime later in life. And I remember really wanting to see Alien 4 like
Hmm.
really bad, and like I knew I wasn't allowed to do it. So this is it's just coming back to me in real time. I remember I was with my grandparents for the weekend, and like my grandfather was like, "What should we do?" I'm like, "Let's go rent a movie," and I'm like, "Let's get Alien 4." And for a kid, that movie had a lot of cool stuff in it, but it was not a
Sure.
very good film overall. But I don't know. I've always just had like a soft spot. I mean, it's like iconic creature design, great
Yep.
suspense, great action. Really, just it's got a little bit of everything. And then Prometheus came out, and I think you and I are the only two people on planet Earth who have a soft spot for that movie. There's dozens of us, maybe.
There's a hive of Prometheus fans. I
Yeah.
think that you and I are probably alone in like the worn and wound world as being Prometheus fans. We have some very vocal Prometheus deniers, let's say, in our circle who are
Disappointing news.
not fans of Prometheus, which I think is kind of a great achievement. Personally, I've loved that movie. I saw
Oh,
it
since the
twice in
first
theaters.
watching, I was like, this is great. What is everybody
I,
complaining about?
I saw it in the theater, and then like I immediately was like, I need to see that again. I saw it twice in the original theatrical run. I own it on Blu-ray. I watch it when it's streaming. It's like it's weirdly a comfort movie for me, which is a
It's a
psychotic
really
thing
good
to
movie to
say.
just pop on. Like you can just
Yeah,
watch it whenever and you don't have to pay 100% attention until there's like really cool stuff. And then you're like, heck yeah, this is great.
yeah, it's really good. For me, it kind of it this is a corny thing to say, but like it kind of makes like the other Alien movies like even that much better to me because I wasn't expecting like to like Prometheus. I wasn't when I heard it was coming out and that it was like an Alien prequel. I kind of thought like, do we need this?
Oh, because it was like
Um,
height of prequel time. I feel
yeah,
like it was like at the kind of start of like, let's just slap a prequel out there. Let's change all the lore. Come on, let's get it going. But this was a little different. This was Ridley Scott, right?
it's
Didn't
yeah
he
Ridley Scott
he's
kind of
back.
expanding on the Alien universe, and he gave us like answers to things that we didn't really need answers to, but also like more questions came of that, which I think is like the best way to handle, a prequel that's going to answer questions is to like ask more questions and make the mythology even deeper and weirder.
It kind of went
And
off the rails though, because then they went prequel sequel with Alien Covenant, which is also Ridley Scott.
yeah,
And what was it? Let's see, 5 years after the release of Prometheus, making it the eighth film in the Alien franchise, really just kind of went off the rails there. There was not a whole lot to love about Covenant, but I'm like, now I kind of want to watch it again because I think they're all on Hulu.
yeah, no, I think yeah, they're all on Disney Plus actually, which
Yeah,
is
there you go.
funny
Yeah,
because
so
it's
I
like
watch my kids. I watch Bluey and then
yeah.
Alien Covenant
Yeah,
in the
Disney
same
Plus
clip.
slash Hulu sharing content is very, very funny to me. But my understanding is that Ridley Scott had a third movie in like what he was going to make like the David trilogy, following
Hmm.
that character, and like obviously that never happened. But I think, Covenant is a step back from Prometheus. Sure, I have a soft spot for it, but
A lot of quality lines in that one too, which I won't repeat here on the
yeah,
podcast.
Covenant is like maybe the grossest Alien movie. I think like it's just a personal,
I'm gonna rewatch it. Maybe I'll watch it tonight. I'm
it's
inspired.
yeah, it's tricky, but anyway, I love Prometheus. I love what Prometheus did to the entire franchise, kind of like resetting it, and yeah, I'm a defender of that movie. I think it's really wonderful.
Prometheus Defenders.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite? This is going to be the a question that comes up in any Alien discussions. We should get it out of the way. What's your favorite Alien movie? I think it's for most people it comes down to Alien and Aliens. Do you have a preference
Yeah,
between the two?
I think just like the heavy nostalgia factor and it being my first entrance into the whole world, I'm gonna go with Aliens, which I actually did rewatch a couple of weeks ago, and I
Hmm.
wasn't as blown away by it as I thought I would be. So like, I don't know, I'm going strictly based on nostalgia, Aliens, and then closely followed by Alien, and then I would put Prometheus in there if we're counting the prequels, and
Sure.
then
Yeah.
I would put Alien 4, then Alien 3, then Covenant. Because
Yeah.
three was weird. We're on a prison planet and we're being directed by David Fincher. It's all sorts of off the rails. That one is wild.
Yeah. That Fincher movie's not good.
No.
We're in agreement. Except I would swap Alien and Aliens. I just have a preference for the first one. But similarly to you, I think I probably saw Aliens first,
Yeah.
and then came to Alien later. I love like I love the production of Alien. Like I think that like it looks like rickety and kind of shitty
Oh
in a
yeah.
way that I think Ridley Scott always intended, and it really suits the so like there's no shine like on that
No,
movie
it's grit.
at all.
It's very gritty. And
Yeah.
I think that really helps with like the establishment of this new world. That was one of those movies that like I really wish I could have went into it like completely blind. Like I was
Hmm.
reading up on it, and apparently the trailers were like super vague, and it wasn't really, they didn't give away a whole lot. And then to just see that first chest burster scene, like I would have probably lost my mind in the movie theater.
Yeah.
And a part of that is like a lot of the actors didn't know it was going to happen when it was going to happen like that either. So a lot of those reactions are pretty close to real, which is wild. Like if you rewatch that first scene, the first alien coming out of the chest scene, you can see on the actors' faces that they're like really thrown off guard.
Yeah.
It's just so well done, and it's like so iconic, and it just I mean honestly it changed the whole face of sci-fi movies going forward, like
Yeah.
just really in
Yeah.
a
Oh,
huge way.
it's yeah, no, it's an incredibly important movie. That scene in particular is yeah, it's akin to like the shower scene in Psycho.
Hmm.
It's like it's sort of like in the same pantheon as that.
I mean, and the practical effects were absolutely just killer. The
Yeah.
character design by HR Geiger, just again crazy, iconic,
Yep. Yep.
gross, just everything about it.
Yeah, and again, like I think it kind of introduces this idea of like working class space travel, which is like kind of then expanded upon in other alien movies, including Alien Romulus, of course, but like just the idea that like these guys are not like heroic space explorers. They're miners,
Yeah, they're
like
like wrenching on a half broken spaceship with
yeah,
dirty old clothes on.
they're hauling, ore or whatever for a giant corporation, and being like exploited. But like, there's this whole great conversation, like in the early goings of Alien, about like, the share of the, like the contracts and like, it's just, I don't know. It's just, it makes the world feel like very real because it's something that is,
Oh yeah, I mean, if we keep going the way we're going, we might get there one day. I mean, hopefully, I'll be long gone, but it doesn't. It's like, all right,
you mean you're not
corporate
going to
overlords.
volunteer for for multi-year cryo sleep mission where you're just like mining asteroids and planets with weird alien creatures? That's not
We'll
something
see.
you're up for.
We'll see. And we'll see what happens when on the career trajectory. Maybe that'll be my second era. I'll
Yeah,
just switch from what I'm doing to doing that.
I love that for you, Ed. I think that's great.
Yeah, I'm well
Um,
suited to it.
let's move on to Alien Romulus. So
Yeah.
Alien Romulus takes place between the events of Alien and Aliens. Um, so there's no Sigourney Weaver, in this movie. She's in cryo sleep,
Right.
and it kind of like picks up at a point where the alien creature is kind of like out there unbeknownst to the characters that we meet in Alien Romulus. and then they sort of encounter that
Yeah.
alien creature. And
So, I mean, in the beginning of the movie, they actually pull the creature from the first ship.
right.
You see the wreckage of the Nostromo,
Yep.
and they grab the creature encased in some sort of gunk. I mean, they've made reference throughout the entire series of films that like they're the perfect organism. So like this guy must have just encapsulated himself in some sort of goop and was just floating around in space waiting for some sucker to pick him up.
Yep.
And
Which is a good move. That's smart. It's
yeah, I would do the
yeah.
same if I had the ability.
Yeah. What were your overall impressions of Romulus coming out of it when you saw it about a week or so ago?
When I got out of the theater, I was pretty excited. I mean, it was I went for IMAX. It was big. It was loud. I was stoked. I was stoked. It feels like I left the theater thinking, I'm like, all right, we're back, baby. Like I thought this was a really strong re-entrance into the world of Alien. Not without its fault. It seems to be, a little polarizing at times, but overall, like I was excited. I was like, all right, you know what? I can't wait for this to be out on digital, and like I'm gonna watch it again in the comfort of my own home. I was all in.
Yeah. I mean, I had a similar reaction coming out of the movie. I was really into it. I thought, it moved along really well. It's a fun script with really good, set pieces built into it. I thought the cast is, it's well cast. Kaylee Spaney plays kind of like the central figure. And I thought was very, very good, in the film. Um, and yeah, no, it seems to like it does something that all alien movies do in a way, which is like borrow like little set pieces and little like story ideas from other films and kind of like rethinks them and reworks them.
Yeah, that's not like an original idea to this movie. Like
No, not at
all
all.
along, they've been kind of doing like a kind of a greatest hits sort of approach where like, all right, we got to have these couple things in there. And
Yeah.
that's not new. Like the films borrow from each other quite a bit. So like,
Like there's a way to read Prometheus, for example. It's just sort of like a retelling of the original, and like there's like beat for beat, like there's a lot of plot
oh
points
yeah,
that kind of like line up there. So
yeah. But how did you feel leaving? You were good. You're all
yeah,
in.
no, I had really I really liked it. I thought like this is an interesting kind of we're in an interesting place with like this franchise that's been, with us since the like, late 70s at this point. Because there's, like broad kind of it has like it's very broad appeal. It's very well known. We've been through kind of like multiple reboots and side projects. And we haven't said the words Alien versus Predator yet, but like that's a whole
Oh
other like
boy,
chapter.
yeah.
Like those movies are not good, and like I never
No,
really like consider
still, I
them.
was so stoked for those to come out because
Yeah,
Predator is one of my favorites, and I think I was like 13 when it came out. So it was
yeah,
like, let's sneak into the Babylon movie theater. Hope the dude who goes to high school with us is working the ticket office, so we don't have
yeah.
to have our parents buy us tickets, kind of situation.
So like we've been through like all these stages, and so like now it feels like we're at this like new point where they're like it's really become this like marquee piece of IP that just has to keep like kind of like being recycled. And if we're there, I think like this version of that is pretty good because it pays a certain respect to the original movies, and like the filmmaking is really high quality. This movie made by Fede Alvarez, who's a
It looks
really
fantastic.
talented filmmaker, and like he can like put together an action scene and he understands like how these movies should look, and I like his perspective. It doesn't feel to me though um like it's as full of ideas as like Alien and Aliens and Covenant and Prometheus, frankly, which are whether you find fault in them or not, like have like really like kind of like big ideas about
It wasn't as ambitious,
yeah.
but I think the way that they pulled it off, like it almost didn't have to be, because like I feel like this is a great way to get people back into the world and talking about the movie, because like it's got buzz, like it's it had a strong box office first weekend, um and the production budget was relatively low compared to just what movies cost nowadays. I mean, 80 million dollars, not too crazy.
Yeah, because they didn't have to like go into space to film it. Like
No,
if they had like really gone for it and like gone into like low Earth orbit with
that's
you
actually
know
something I'd like to talk about is the I don't know if you found yourself feeling motion sick, but in the scenes where the gravity was going off, I found them extremely disorienting in kind of a fun way.
yeah.
Like there were a couple times where like the camera would just spin when the gravity would go off, and I was just like, all right, I feel slightly ill, but I think that's the point. So
Yeah, that's a good bit too. I like that. I don't recall seeing that in another alien. Is that the first time we've seen this like gravity coming on and coming off in
yeah,
a
yeah, I think
yeah.
so, because that was really cool the way they played with that, and
And it
that could
pays off big time with like
oh
a,
yeah,
a set piece towards the end. Maybe we can get into that. Like like that was my like that's the sequence that's going to stick with me is Kaylee Spaney kind of like machine gunning these aliens in a zero gravity environment. Well, she's being like held back. And of course like the acid blood is then like floating
yeah,
uh
suspended in midair because the thing was they were on the bottom level of the ship, and if she
yeah,
just shot the aliens, the blood would breach the hull and suck everybody out of there.
right.
So they turned off the gravity, and she used the smart gun, which I thought was really cool. That was like one of the first times we saw how
Yeah.
the iconic smart guns actually work. So it has like auto targeting, and like they actually showed the cool prop moving and stuff
Yeah.
with the targeting. But yeah, no, she was blasting aliens in this tunnel, and of course they had to get to the other side of the tunnel, but there were like these splatter webs of acid that they had to navigate their way through um, in zero gravity, which
Yeah,
was
and
really
then
cool.
of course there's like a time element because the gravity is only suspended for so long, and then there's like a dramatic moment where it comes back and she has to like dodge the acid. It's
I
really
can't
it's really really good.
I can't corroborate it. I mean, I trust them, but apparently there was like a 40-minute countdown, and there was 40 minutes left in the movie. So like it was one of those situations where
It happens in real
the
time.
yeah, real time
Yeah.
countdown. So there's your timing crossover. So we've
Yeah.
completed our mission, and now we can talk about whatever we want.
I mean,
'Cause-
we can talk about. I mean, this is like Alien as a franchise is like notable for watches. Especially in Aliens, you have like multiple iconic watches. We'll put links. We've covered them on the
oh yeah,
website.
was it the Jujaro design
Yes.
Seiko's.
Yep.
Um,
Really really cool watches. I believe Zach Weiss still owns. I think the Ripley, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I've never owned one of those. I've always found them to be pretty interesting. In this movie in Romulus, they're wearing like basically Apple Watch Ultras, right? Like
yeah, kind of. I'm trying to find a screenshot, but like you could tell that they went all in with the retro futuristic design. Like I thought throughout, like even like the UI on the computers were like sort of not, beautiful looking touchscreens. They were kind of just like janky DOS based looking
yeah,
menus. And the watch that Kaylee Spaney was wearing, which I cannot find a screenshot of, was cool. It kind of looked like a beat up little screen Apple Watch. It almost looked like one of the Casio like calculator watches, but it was never turned on. Like I didn't see the watch like display anything because of course I was looking. It doesn't need to, but I guess, maybe I expected a little bit more out of the watch prop.
that's
Where's
okay.
Hamilton at?
It's not. Maybe this movie doesn't have like an iconic watch come out of it in the same way that
No,
Alien
but
did.
you
And I
know
think
what? I
that's
think
okay
they
though.
actually somebody on the prop team recognized that the watches from the previous ones were so iconic that they had to kind of follow suit with making something cool. Like, they could
Yeah.
have very easily just not been wearing watches. And
I
that
mean, they did that for sure with just like the wardrobe in general, like the Reebok sneakers and
yeah.
like their like the obviously like the iconic high tops and the like I feel like the jackets and everything. It all feels like pulled from those earlier movies, which I thought was like an interesting, a really satisfying bit of like non-confrontational fan service. And we're going to talk about like some other pieces of fan service that are a little bit more confrontational and controversial. But I want to hear about did you have any like favorite scenes? We talked about the acid evasion scene, which
Yeah.
is a highlight for me.
So
What did you like?
I think one of my favorite scenes was where they were running down. They were running away from the whole movie. Everyone's just running away from something the whole time. But
Sure.
where the face huggers had gotten out of their cryo sleep area,
They're always getting
and they
out.
were
Those
just kind of
pesky.
like, I know, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem. And they were just kind of like hanging out in that corridor.
Yeah.
And the android was like, hey, we can try to make the room the same as body temperature and just like be really quiet. So like there were all these little, face hugger spidery guys just kind of hanging out, waiting for somebody to make a noise. And it was just like a really cool tense scene. There was like a good jump scare in there where they had to slowly make their way through this room that was just like full of face huggers. That's kind of like, if you asked me to walk through a hallway of spiders, I'd probably not have a good time. Very similar to that movie.
Yeah.
It was just fun, and it was tense, and it was like cool. I know that they used a lot of practical effects in this movie, so they actually had like, the face huggers were not crappy CG, which we can get to later. We have plenty to talk about in the land of crappy CG.
Yeah.
But they went practical with a lot of the alien and face hugger props, so it was cool to, they look real, they look great, and
Yeah.
it was a good scene and very, very action packed, this whole movie. But good tension. So it was like kind of a good blend of alien and aliens, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I like that scene a lot too. You mentioned the android character. It's obviously a hallmark of every alien movie. We have these human like androids.
He was incredible.
Yeah, David Johnson.
He had to act two different roles. I mean,
yeah, yep. So Andy the android, which I think is a fun.
Is that a kids show? Is that the Disney Plus crossover? We're gonna have Andy the android.
So. That'll be
when this thing hits Hulu.
Animated series coming this fall. Andy the android. No, David Johnson's great. I wasn't really too familiar with him. I don't know that I've seen him in anything before this, but yeah, he plays essentially two different androids. He plays kind of like I would say kind of like a meek sort of like.
He was broken, literally.
Yeah, like a broken.
He was busted and he wasn't fully there, and he was almost like childlike, and he filled in as kind of like a brother character to Rain, Kaylee Spaney's character.
And then he takes on the like the personality and like the information and the artificial intelligence of another android.
He gets an upgrade. They pop something in so he can communicate with the outpost, and he just does this reboot in a very tense scene where he would have come in handy. He was just kind of frozen there, rebooting, and he came back a completely different character, and he had a new directive, which was kind of another cool twist because they really couldn't trust him after that.
Yeah. So his directive previously as Andy is to do what's best for Rain, to save Rain at all costs. And then the directive, once he takes on the properties of Rook, the android that is modules implanted in him, it's then do what's best for the company.
Yep.
Which is I think if this movie has any big ideas, I think it's like a critique on capitalism, which is kind of like a subtext that again runs through all the alien movies, but it makes it very obvious. In one scene in particular, when Andy's kind of like relaying his new directive that he's gonna do what's best for the company, which means
get the goop and bring it back.
Get the goop. Yeah, they need that perfect organism. Their lives are all inessential, at that point. I think that's a good place to kind of talk about like the big elephant in the room, which is that Rook character, which is a CGI version of Ian Holm, the actor who passed away about 4 years ago. He played Ash in Alien very memorably, and this is controversial.
They did not, in my opinion, they did not need to do this at all. He wasn't even the same guy, right?
The same guy, yeah.
Not the same.
Well,
android.
I mean, I think the idea is like he's the same model android,
right?
Which is why,
but like,
yeah,
you got to use a dead guy's likeness and like do a really poor job at it. Like, come on.
Yeah, as my our colleague at Watch Time, Bilal Khan, who's another Prometheus defender, I have to say,
dozens of us.
Shout out to Bilal.
They're coming out of the woodworks.
Yeah, DMing with him about this movie because I wanted to get his thoughts on it, and he brought up that they basically like Livia Soprano'd this character by like kind of like reanimating an actor who's passed away, like using their likeness, and
Yeah.
it's very, I found it to be very clumsy, and it's like it's one of those moments where I think Fede Alvarez is like reaching for like a big like fan service moment that obviously some people are going to really love, um, but like other people are going to hate it. So it's like it's kind of risky
It was
to
weird
do
because
that.
it wasn't even fan service. He would just like pop in over the comms and just be like, "Oh, don't do that," or like, "Maybe you should do that," and like it didn't need to be him like for any reason. Like, okay, maybe if they did like a practical effect and they had like a prosthetic, like when they first found like the half android on the floor, maybe if it was the same model with the Ian Holm face and they turned it over, great. But then like he became like a tertiary character, just like they threw him up on a bench and he was all broken and everything, and he would just like pop through the comms and interject from time to time, and it's like this would have hit so much harder if it was literally anybody else. Like it doesn't have to be him. And that was probably the worst bit of fan service because like it was unnecessary.
Yeah.
I don't, it was completely unnecessary. And I think the real fans are going to be like, why would you do him so dirty like that? And then maybe the filthy casuals will be like, that's the guy from the other one, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think maybe a lot of the movie going public is more casual. That's the same guy as the other one. People.
Yeah. So like I'll be honest, I hadn't seen going into Alien Romulus. It had been a while, like probably over like a year or so since I had seen Alien, and I wasn't like expecting that. I didn't, I went in without spoilers or anything. So it really kind of like confused me to see a likeness of that actor portrayed in that
Yeah.
way, because like my memory of Alien was that like he had kind of been like ripped in half,
Yeah.
and like so like he's found, in this, in this other place, in this new place, in the like essentially the same kind of state that we last saw him. So it's like
Yeah.
I found it kind of confusing, and like I had to like remind myself, oh no, we're in a
Different timeline.
we're in a different place, like here. This is a totally different situation. So
It was rough. And
yeah,
then
it just didn't really, it would have been smoother storytelling, I think, if you had just used another actor.
yep.
But I think they clearly wanted to like, make the connection between the movies, that like this is like a model of Android that like maybe you see in other places in the
Right.
Alien universe as well.
Which is
So,
fine. But I really just think if that fell super flat for me. And there were, we have in our little notes here, uh, the dialogue, they
yeah.
rehashed a couple of lines and like it almost feels like, the corpo overlords are requiring this checklist of things that you have to put in the movie. I want to think it's that way at least because it felt very forced throughout when they'd say, get away from her, you bitch. And like,
Yeah.
we don't know the gender of that alien, whereas the queen she's clearly a bitch.
Yeah.
Stuff like that where it was just, let's just cram it in there and hope for the best.
Well, you got to do what's best for the company.
You got to
like
do what's best for the company. That's the prime.
like,
the prime directive is wildly ironic.
that's
Disney,
the meta commentary.
Disney who owns Fox and all the others now, requiring a checklist of things that must go in to bring in those space credits.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a cynical way to read the movie, but I think it's a legitimate way to read the movie, as just like requiring these little like callbacks here and there, and most of them I think are pretty innocuous, like the high tops and
I mean,
like,
at least we know that Reebok has survived far into the future, and they're doing well enough to keep making shoes. So that's good, at least.
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of, I don't know if you're a Twitter/X user, Ed, but there's a lot of talk, and I can put links in the show notes for this. There's a bunch of threads I've seen just kind of like pointing out like the little like Easter eggs, like very small incidental like callbacks to other Alien movies. So like, for example, early in Romulus, you see in an outdoor scene they walk by like a bar that like has the same neon sign as a sign in Aliens, kind of like
See,
placing
that's
you
the
in the
stuff I don't mind, because even that, like as a fan, like that's stuff that goes over my head, and that's like
exactly same.
largely harmless. But when you bring back an iconic actor who's been knighted, he's a sir,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
just slap his face into the old Princess Leia robot machine and bring him back from the dead, that's a little bit more offensive than just like the same neon sign. That's
yeah.
not, not
It
cool.
I agree. When I came out of the movie, obviously like I really like the movie. It sounds like you did too, but I came out of the movie not really like thinking too much about that. I thought, okay, well that was weird, but fine. And the more I've like thought about
You've just
the
been
Ian Holmes
stewing
stuff,
the whole time.
yeah, it's just like it bothers me more now than it did like a week ago when I saw the movie. Because like you really realize like they didn't need to do it. Like there were
No.
alternatives, and yeah, I think it's kind of like maybe a little rude to Ian Holm.
Yeah.
Not yeah,
But
not
you know
great.
what? His estate signed off on it. And again, they
Yeah,
did what's best for their company and keep the dollars flowing.
yeah,
Uh, what about the end? How did you feel about the ending of the movie?
I loved it. I thought
Okay.
so the end we see there's a very graphic birth scene, another hallmark of
I'm all
the
in.
Alien movies.
One of my favorite scenes ever is the surgery pod scene from Prometheus. I think across all the movies, that's probably one of the best, most intense, just mind blowing. Like, I can't believe they did this, and it was disgusting, and it was great, and like just well acted. And I'm like, we're getting another one, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a horrifying scene. One of my favorites. Also, that scene from Prometheus is definitely one of my favorites. Side note on that. So that like that pod thing, like it has a name. I don't have it in front of me, but like they reference it in another movie. I think in Covenant. I could be wrong. As like one of like the most expensive like medical devices ever made. And there's only like 5 of them in the universe or something like so like in this like far future environment, like that thing is like legitimately rare and like crazy expensive, like which is just a little detail that they put into this movie
Yeah,
into the
yeah.
series that like
Only the
fascinates
corpo
me.
higher ups get med pods
Yeah,
on their ships.
I want to get one for my home, I think.
Just totally skip the doctor and just hit a
Yeah,
couple buttons.
I
And
might sell all my watches so I can get one of those
I see you've been
one of
moving
those
some pieces on Instagram,
med
so
pods. Yeah.
maybe that's what Zach is saving up for, guys.
Yeah, don't ask me what I'm saving. Don't ask me don't ask me what's next. It might be a med pod.
Yeah, I got the med pod. Maybe you just get the prop and just pretend it, and then
Yeah, that'd be fun.
if you go, you go. If it doesn't work, so be it.
I'd have
What
people
was
over
meant to
and they'd
be.
see it like prominently, just like,
Does
oh,
that work?
you got the med pod. That's
Sick.
amazing. Yeah,
Good for you, man.
congratulations. Yeah,
Universal healthcare is not happening, so we got to take it into our own hands to
agreed. Yeah,
a med pod in every home.
yeah.
That's what I'd run on if I were running for public office.
I gotta get this back on track. So yeah, the ending.
Sorry.
Ending of Romulus. So yeah, you have this birth scene, and the alien that's birthed is like a cross between like the engineers that we met in
It
Prometheus.
looks a lot like the engineers. He's very tall,
very tall, very huge, and
Huge.
has like kind of walks on all fours, similar to like what we've seen like like the normal like alien, the xenomorph,
right?
kind of has a similar like gait, I guess, to like the xenomorph. And
But how we got there is crazy too. That poor pregnant woman was just
yeah,
minding her own business in the ship the whole time. Her friend had a chest burster pop out. She got just stolen by an alien.
yeah,
She was just the whipping boy of this whole movie. She probably had it the worst. And then she took the goo, and that was there was a whole science part where the stuff that they harvest from the aliens and then purify would take humanity to that next level. And
right.
she's really badly injured, and she injects herself with the serum, and you find out, you think it's kind of like a false ending to the movie where everyone's kind of going into hypersleep, everyone meaning Kaylee Spaney and the pregnant woman. And she takes the goo, and then there's an error code popping on the cryo sleep pod. And then we're treated to just a tense and action filled end of the movie.
Yeah, and I thought it really worked. I thought like the creature design there for that final, like the final boss alien was really good, and like kind of gross and unsettling in the way that these alien creatures often are. Um, you told me that you weren't such a big fan of the.
It's funny, like you said, the more that you kind of sat with it, the less you like the Ian Holm thing. And I think that the more that I sat with the creature at the end, the more I became okay with it. Because I think I hit you up like right after I got out of the movie theater.
Yeah,
But this whole idea wasn't entirely new to the franchise overall, because we have the newborn from Alien 4,
sure.
who is a horrible, lanky, pale, tall creature that gets sucked out of a quarter-size hole in the glass. And he had a very odd relationship with Ripley because it was her son, her DNA.
It's been a long
Something.
time since I've seen
Yeah,
it. But yeah, there's like a DNA sharing thing happening there. But yeah, I'm real foggy on Alien 4.
yeah,
It's been a long
that
time
was
since I've
rough.
seen it.
But this is kind of a similar thing to me, where there was a baby born, and it immediately grew up into this horrifying creature. And I think the only part about the end that took me out was like there was like one particular jump scare where he just made like a silly little face and then got dropped into the asteroid belt. But like, I don't know. I think it was a great setup for a potential second movie in this run of alien films. And
Yeah,
I think they did a good job picking the new person to helm it. And overall, I was just thrilled to have another alien movie that I would regularly rewatch, and with good setup for the
yeah.
future. I think there was rumors, and I was excited about it a while ago, of another alien movie that the South African dude, I forgot his name, who did District 9, was supposed
Oh,
to do an
sure.
alien
Yeah,
movie.
I know exactly who you're talking. The name is on the tip of my tongue, but
Yeah,
yeah,
same here. But he was supposed to do an alien movie, and there were like concept drawings, and it just never happened. And this is kind of the movie that Neil Blomkamp, that he
oh, sure,
wanted
yeah,
to do, and it never happened because I think Fox had sold to Disney in there, and it just kind of got shuttered. And I thought this was like this was a great way to pick up the pieces for Alien fans who wanted kind of a return to form.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I think it's a really solid movie if you're an Alien fan. It's definitely worth checking out. And I think it probably is bringing in some new folks into the franchise as well. Are you familiar, Ed, with I don't have this on the outline. It just kind of popped in my head.
Sure.
I was reminded of. But are you familiar with the series that Noah Hawley is working on? It's a prequel to the original Alien. I believe it's going to be on FX. Obviously, part of this like Disney,
Right, Alien
you know,
Earth, the upcoming
Alien
science
Earth.
fiction horror TV series.
Yeah,
I really only heard about it for the first time like a week ago. But how long do we have to wait? Do we have a long time to
I think it's next year is
That's
is
fine.
the
I'm
target.
fine with that.
I'm really interested in this. It's so, I mean, obviously it's called Alien Earth. It takes place reportedly on Earth, um, which I really love that idea because again, like the thing that fascinates me about this series over and over again is like the business aspect of it, and like this like corporate kind of like control of space and the
Succession with
bureaucracy of it all.
aliens. Watch
Yeah.
out.
So
That'd be a heck of a pitch.
that's kind of fun to me. But like I wonder if we'll see aliens in the series if it's set on Earth. Like
Y'all got any of
what is
them
an alien property
aliens on
without
this in
aliens?
this alien series? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see.
I trust Noah Hawley. I think Noah Hawley's great. I loved his season of Fargo recently.
I'm not
So
very
yeah,
familiar. I got to do some IMDbing, but
I think
no,
I think you'd dig
I'm
it.
always down. There's really low bar for watching a show on
Yeah.
streaming platform. So
Oh no, I have to watch television.
yeah, oh
What's going
man,
on?
I don't have to leave my house or
Yeah.
get a babysitter or anything. Oh boy, no. So I'll absolutely watch that.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun thing to look forward to. It's potentially promising. We'll see.
I mean, also quick shout out to Prey, the Predator prequel.
Yeah, that was really good.
Straight to Hulu. That was fantastic.
Yep.
Super fun. So there's hope out there.
Yep, absolutely. And before I let you go, I wanted to ask you, you're a Alien franchise aficionado, of course. We recently in a Watch Stories and Gear column published a story. I forget the publication that ran it originally, but it was sort of like a compendium of all the alien creatures throughout every Alien movie. It's a vibrant ecosystem, as you know, with lots of life. Do you have a favorite alien creature, and what is it, and why? Because you're going to have it as a pet soon. That's the surprise.
That's the oh boy. I don't know if you guys heard earlier, we got a new dog who really probably made his first podcast debut there in the background. So I don't know if we have room, but yeah, I'm quickly scrolling this list because there's a lot of stuff that I don't even remember. I mean, one of them that always stuck out to me was it was Alien 4, not the best movie, but there was a scene in which they were swimming. And I just thought the aliens that were swimming was like so cool to see them kind of like snaking through the water in a way that you've never seen before, which would be that's one of the classic, I believe it's just one of the regular xenomorphs, and they're really hard to beat.
Can I tell you the one that I think about the most is the from Prometheus, those like snake-like creatures that
the cobra with the little flappy,
and they get into the guy's
and they break the guy's arm, and
that is to me like the most terrifying one, because you think, like, I mean, obviously you're watching an alien movie, you know how it's going to go, but like these guys think they're protected in their spacesuits. This is like a gentle looking creature potentially, and then it just like wreaks total havoc very, very quickly. And I've just like that particular scene has just always like really stayed with me, and I think that's a fascinating little bit of creature design. And like obviously like the face hugger too is like a completely iconic.
I also like the baby creature. Alien fresh out the chest, where he's all kind of like yellowy and covered in blood. He's got a certain charm to him. He's got the little silver teeth. Scariest though, I think, is probably the face hugger, because just everything from this spider looking creature shoving a oviduct tube down your throat and laying eggs is just like horrible. Everything about that is horrible. There's nothing fun about that.
No, it's really it kind of like it's sort of like the sci-fi version of like being like buried alive almost, like because you're like,
it's not good.
It's really
it's not good.
No, it's horrifying. Like they really like tapped into, I think one of the reasons these movies work is because like they tap into these like primordial fears that we have.
Yeah, the body horror is high in Alien, and especially in this new one. So if you're a fan, definitely, you've probably seen it already. But if you're on the fence, just kind of don't write this one off as just another cash grab, because this was a good one.
Yeah, and if you're on the fence and haven't seen it and have gotten this far, we've spoiled everything for you.
Yeah, so, you don't see it, I guess. I don't know.
Well, no, go, because now it's
go anyway.
Yeah. Ed, it's been great to have you back on Time on Screen. Really fun to talk to you about probably like my favorite sci-fi franchise. I think
it's up there.
It's up there. Done. I love the Alien movies. I'm gonna go see Romulus again this weekend, I think.
Good for you.
Give it a second viewing. So
I'm curious to hear your thoughts in the DMs if you picked up anything that I missed.
Yeah, well, I have some of these like Twitter threads in my head of like all these different little like Easter eggs. So I definitely want to go back and see some of that stuff. So anyway, again, thank you, Ed, for coming on the pod, and thank you everyone for listening to another episode of Time on Screen. We really appreciate it, and we will be back again soon with another episode. Until then, thanks a lot for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.